A very interesting Purdue basketball update of sorts has come to the forefront yesterday. This comes courtesy of my GOAT, Brian Newbert. I keep calling him my GOAT. I think he is the GOAT of Purdue reporting, basically. No disrespect to anybody else. We love the Boilers in the Stands guys too. But in terms of I don't know, just like day to day, here's the happenings along with very nuanced interpretation of it. Brian Newbert is there for Purdue fans at all times. And that's why you're my GOAT, BN, my guy. My guy came with some intel on some rotation thoughts for Purdue and one specific emergent player. That's how Newbert framed this. You can get the full intel at on3.com, the Purdue Gold and Black site. We certainly want to be cognizant of not just, I don't know, paywalled information here. So not going to read too much of this word for word. Make sure you go support Brian Newbert and On3. Go subscribe, get all this access yourself. You're going to want it. However, I will paraphrase here. And Brian Newbert is implying that Jakari Harris has had a great offseason and is the emerging player for Purdue basketball. In fact, Newbert's exact words on Jakari are this: he had a great offseason and will enter preseason practice, in our opinion, as a front runner to start, which doesn't matter, but it is something he has earned. He then goes on to tell a story here that there was a pickup game or a scrimmage between a two-sided Purdue team, right? Two squads. Squad one had both All-Americans on it. Squad two was the quote-unquote backups. Jakari Harris dominated, and the team with the quote-unquote backups won the game. Now, this is the end of the story. I will point out before throwing it to you that if it was the team with the All-Americans on it versus the backups, and Jakari Harris was on the backups team, are we sure he's the emergent starter here? I'm a little bit confused there, but 1 + 1 doesn't always equal 2, and never doubt my GOAT. This is good reporting. So Jakari Harris has emerged as a front runner to start. That's the prompt here. That obviously would mean that Omer Meyer and CJ Cox are taking a back seat. And for whatever reason, Jakari has leapfrogged them into the starting five. What do you make of this? Help me sort through this.
Listen, I'm an Omer guy. Um, Still have no idea if I'm saying his name correctly, but Purdue fans will let me know, and I appreciate that about them. Omer's going to start on this team, man. He's way too talented. Listen, that doesn't mean Jakari Harris couldn't have had a great offseason. He could have. CJ Cox could have had a great offseason too. Talent is what's most important when doing anything. Omer is the more talented player of that group of three, right? Like that's why he is in the spot he's in on NBA draft boards. At least the following year, he has his 2-year plan. Braden recruited him. He came to play with Braden, not to play behind Braden. Like he has vocalized that. Braden's vocalized that. He came here to play with Braden. Um, I think my biggest takeaway, unless Jakari Harris pulled a Jimmy Butler and told Tom Thibodeau or Matt Painter, I'm playing with the backups today. I got a point to prove because I'm upset. Jakari Harris playing with the backups says everything. You can't you can't be the front runner to start if you aren't starting. As simple as that. The front runner to start is somebody that's with the starting group. Whoever, and I'm not even saying it's Omer. Maybe it's CJ Cox. In my opinion, if someone was going to beat out Omer, it's the guy who started. What did he start? 23 games last year, played nearly 19 minutes, nearly shot 40% from three, and is a really good defender. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Jakari Harris's development by any means. I just don't think he's the one that's necessarily going to start on this team if it isn't Omer. Omer makes the most sense. He came here to play with Braden Smith. Um, he's the most talented guy. We've said this on a few videos. Not that Braden, TKR, Fletch were ever going to leave, but how quickly they remained committed to Purdue is partially because of what they knew the influx was going to be. And Omer is the most talented person from that influx. He's going to start. That's why everybody's there, is to play together, not for the following year, because Braden, Fletch, and TKR have no eligibility left. They wanted to maximize this roster to give themselves the best chance at a national title. The best way to do that is with Omer Meyer starting. That's not taking anything away from Jakari Harris and the sentiment that he has had the best offseason out of the group. I do think that's possible. The last thing I have on it is Jakari Harris probably had the best offseason because I do think he has the most room to grow too out of the group, right? Like if you look at what CJ Cox did last year, if you look at what Omer did in Europe, the most obvious like developmental project is a Jakari Harris, who is going to play a big role on this team too. But yeah, I honestly don't think he's going to start.
So, okay, I have a lot here to sort through with this, and somebody in my Twitter mentions yesterday, I forget who it is, maybe I'll look it up and shout you out in a moment, but somebody was like, "Can't wait for the sleepers' response to this. Time for G to be spin this into a negative somehow," and yeah, I mean that's that you know me, you know the scout, right? Miles Coleman going to stand in the corner and shoot. Greg Waddell going to spin things. That's what I do. Now, I, I don't think this should be interpreted as us spinning this as a negative. If Jakari Harris is starting, to me, there's two paths for that. That either means the Purdue staff has a very clear vision for how to give roles to all of these quote unquote bench guards, right? And I think there's a world they could start Jakari Harris that could come to fruition. Newbert's right. And if that happens, I don't think it will be what's best for Purdue. But I have been wrong about what Painter wants their rotation to be before, and I can understand that path. The path there is basically we think Jakari's most similar to Lance Jones. We think Jakari's the best defender out of this group. We think Jakari's the guy that needs the ball in his hands the least. We have a starting lineup that has three guys that really need the ball: Braden, TKR, Fletcher. We want someone that is just a defensive maestro to fit in between them and be the glue. Gicarri is the best option to do that out of CJ Cox and Omer Meyer. Now, clearly, that is something that I think Painter has wanted. I would remind you, Jakari Harris was starting last year a lot of games for Purdue. So was Jakari better than CJ Cox last year? No, he was not. But there pretty clearly is like an archetype that Matt Painter wants in between Braden Fletcher and TKR. And I do think the argument that Jakari Harris is the best guy to fill that archetype makes sense. On the flip side, if you're going down that path and like we want Jakari to be this, what would you want Omer and CJ to be? Let's go through that quickly. I would buy that happening if they want Omer to be the backup point guard. If the vision for Omer is, hey, in year two, Omer is Braden, and for 1 year, basically Omer's job this year is to learn from Braden, understudy Braden, then that's what you do. You start Jakari and you have Omer focused just on backup point guard. And by the way, there was a minor Omer update in part of this release from Newbert that basically says be patient. So if I was playing like stock up, stock down, Newbert's intel is basically stock up Jakari, be patient, training wheels with Omer. There's a lot to take in here. So maybe there's some substance to that. I don't know. And then with CJ, I love CJ Cox. I think CJ is the best player. If I had to bet out of CJ or Jakari, which one starts if it's not Omer, I would bet CJ. I think he's better than Jakari. But CJ's game is very shot hunty. Let me go in and get mine. And that's not the best fit with Braden and TKR. So there's a very easy, straightforward path. CJ come off the bench for 20 minutes and hot shots. Omer be the backup point guard. Jakari fit in with the starters and guard. If that's what they want from this spot, then I think there could be some substance with this. The flip of this to me would be you should want more from Omer. You should want more from Omer than just learn from Braden for a year. And if we are just sort of, I don't know, pinning him to just be the backup point guard, to me, that's not hunting the highest ceiling for this team. The highest ceiling for this team is Braden and Omer operating together, being incredible. So I still think we get there at some point, even if we don't get there by day one. The other thing I just want to note out, my GOAT, right? My GOAT BN. He is the leader in terms of Purdue coverage of this nature for a reason, right? He's the one doing it most consistently. He's the one with the access to it. He's the one that can just constantly sort of get intel from the coaching staff and the players and see it for his own eyes. So I take what he reports as very true very often. With that said, if you go through the history books on some of BN's intel at a previous time, let's go back a year. What was BN saying in September? Um, it's always very overwhelmingly positive. It just is. And that's probably because it's been accurate to be positive about Purdue, right? They've been so good. People that cover the team in and out should be overwhelmingly positive, right? But let's just read a couple things that he was writing last year just to like it doesn't always come perfectly to fruition. And I pulled just a couple screenshots that he was writing like in late summer last year or fall leading up to basketball season. Um, Now he's always been really high on Gicarri. Coming into Jakari's freshman year, what Newbert wrote was, "Do not be surprised if Jakari Harris starts his first game at Purdue and everyone thereafter." Now Jakari did start games last year. He didn't start everyone. So, like, the positivity on Gicarri has always been true. But there's also been positivity on guys in their roles that hasn't come to fruition. Last year, we had quotes from PJ Thompson in a Newbert write-up that said center Will Berg has made a mark this offseason. He's one of the best screeners we've ever had. That didn't come to fruition. If nothing else, Miles Colvin should be much more of a featured offensive piece for Purdue. They'll run more ball. He'll have the ball more. They'll run more plays for him, play more minutes. He's one of the Big Ten's foremost breakout candidates. That did not come to fruition. Cam Heide, while things change at the forward spot, there's a reasonable assumption Cam Heide becomes a prominent player as a small, more perimeter-oriented element in more 4 or 5 out configurations. His athleticism would be transformational versus what Purdue has typically played with. Didn't come to fruition. Now, again, I'm not trying to like back my goat, BN. I think he's fantastic into a corner here and like, haha, you. I'm not trying to lift the Scooby Doo mask up. But what I am trying to do is urge caution if every update on every player with Purdue is like, he's incredible. They're not all going to come true. They're just not. That's not how this works. And we've also heard from the same sources that Jack Benter's going to play a role on this team, that Antoine West is way ahead of schedule and needs minutes. Like, they can't all simultaneously be true. It's not true. And a week ago, BN wrote that this team has 5 starter caliber guards. He wrote they have 5 Big Ten caliber starting guards. He's obviously implying CJ Cox, Omer Meyer, Gicarri Harris, and Braden Fletcher. He might be right. CJ and Gicarri would start on a lot of teams. Omer would start on almost every team. My pivot on that would just be this. It depends on the team. Like Gicarri and CJ, yeah, they started on Purdue last year. So by definition, they are Big Ten starters. How good was Purdue last year? Were they a championship team? Or were they a top half of the conference team? Because if you want to be a top half of the conference team, Gicarri's a great starter. CJ's a great starter. You want to be a championship team, CJ and Gicarri ain't starting at UConn. They ain't starting at Houston. They ain't pick your contender. Those guys aren't starting on those teams. So to me, Omer was the guy brought here to be that guy. And if you're not even asking him to be that guy because you want Gicarri in a different role, to me, you've missed the mark on unlocking this team ceiling.
Couple things. One, I agree they have 5 starting caliber guards, but gee, it makes me want to go redo the Kentucky short we just did. I now think Kentucky has 7 guys that could play on 330 teams because I think Trent Noah and them like are just as good as Jakari Harris, CJ Cox. And that's not taking anything away from those two. Like
Yeah.
that's more so like big upping like the shooting that comes from like a Trent Noah.
I think Trent Noah's Jack Benter. I think both those guys are like, don't be in the rotation, but you can shoot and you look good in practice, guys.
Yeah, but I like honestly Purdue might have 7 guys that could start on 300 some odd teams too because I'm pretty high on Antoine West as well. Like I
Yeah.
think he's kind of like the one in this rotation where it's like when you think about the Lance Jones role, he's the one that most seamlessly fits that. Now he's only a freshman. I don't know if he's ready to play that role necessarily, but like when you the videos that have come out from practice, like if you go look at his tape, he most seamlessly fits that role to me. I don't know, like I said, he's only a freshman. I don't know that he's fully ready to do it, but archetype wise, it's a seamless fit. I do want to say, and this isn't me taking away from the Purdue team that lost to UConn. If Omer Meyer was on that team, they win that game to me. And I think like if you want to go
The
down the,
UConn game?
I yeah, yeah, because
Oh,
I think the biggest issue Purdue had in that game is they didn't have another ball handler besides Braden, and UConn could feast. And it's
fair.
like we can attack Braden. And for as great as Lance Jones is, and as great as that role is, and as far as you can get just by playing the Lance Jones role, it has a peak. And we saw what the peak was, and it was a national championship team or a national title runner-up team, excuse me. The reason Omer's here is to win the national championship. And to me, that's why he's going to start because I think Matt Painter is looking like, okay, I've accomplished this. I want to go through the next step. What do I need to do that? And it was clear. Stephon Castle and them boys pinned their ears back on Brayton, and they had no resistance because who else was going to bring the ball up the court? Who else was going to initiate offense? Who else was going to get it to Edie? They had nothing for that. And I think if you pigeonhole this roster to where somebody's just playing the Lance Jones role, I think it takes away from like what the true ceiling of this team is. And I honestly believe this. I'm not just being hyperbolic with this comment. I honestly believe this could be one of the greatest college basketball teams ever. I don't, I've said it a lot. I really don't understand how you stop this team from scoring. If you look at their schedule, I don't see many losses, if any, on it. And then you get them to a point where they just got to go 6-0 down the stretch, right? Like I trust the two All-Americans. I trust Fletch. I trust Omer, Daniel Jacobson, Oscar Clough. Like the list goes on and on. I wouldn't put a cap on this team. Play your best players. Let them hit their ceiling. See what happens.
100%. No, I agree. This team's going to be incredible. Preseason number one, my national title pick, all of this. You said you don't know how you stop this team. I have an idea. Funnel the ball to Jakari Harris if he's the starting two.
Yeah.
That's what I would do because that's just like we're not if Omer's on the court, I'm not like funnel it to him. Like that, there is one guy I think you can try and game plan and scheme and target defensively into being the weak link if Gicarri Harris is going to be the guy. But it's still going to be easier said than done because Braden's incredible, TKR is incredible, and Purdue could probably beat a lot of defenses 4-on-5. So we'll see where it goes. There is one angle here that we haven't discussed, and I think again it's probably obvious you and I's sentiment on this doesn't necessarily reinforce the likelihood of this, but the angle that we haven't considered that I feel obligated to at least consider is this. Is there a world where Jakari Harris did take a major leap? It's possible. We see guys from freshman to sophomore year reinvent themselves every single year. Look, bottom line, Jakari did some good things in the second half of the season last year. Like it would not be shocking if he just shows up a completely different, advanced version of himself. We've seen a bazillion Purdue players take off-season leaps before under Matt Painter. So we should probably flesh that out. Do you think that is a real possibility here? Or maybe this. Do you think that's what Newbert is saying is happening?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely think it's possible. I definitely think it's possible. I think it would take a major leap to me for him to play over Omer, to be honest with you. But like, I don't think it's impossible. We've seen it a million times over with Purdue players, right? Like, um, we spoke on the Kentucky video about like the Field of 68 travel series they're doing and how good it is. They fleshed out like Matt Painter and Braden Smith and Braden Smith's development since he got there, right? From like the three-star point guard no one really knew to Matt Painter saying like, "Don't worry, I got this kid." And then the following year, the kid was the best point guard in the country, right? Like we've seen it a million times over, even with the guys currently on the roster. So I definitely don't think it's impossible. I just gotta be honest. I think I gotta see it to believe it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is possible. I am taking this as a legitimate possibility. And I will say, like, it is the reporting from BN that makes me take it as a legitimate possibility. If this wasn't being written, I would be like, no way, he's the bench guy, he's the odd man out, he's the fifth guard. So I am at least open to this because I think there is substance to anything that Brian Newbert writes. I really do. With that said, this one does feel like if I had to guess, I would lean that the idea that Jakari has taken a major leap and is the favorite to start, while it might be true, I would lean that that is more in the line of the hyperbolic nature of Colvin has taken a major leap and he's going to be a huge part of the offense. I think that's a very easy thing to fall for in the summer, and I think that might be where this ends.
Hey, can I bring up one more thing
Yeah,
in regards to all
please,
this?
please.
I don't think I think too many people are just closed off to the idea that Omer Meyer might not want to start. You know what I mean? I doesn't want to start. I don't think Omer Meyer came here to come off the bench. And I think that's part of the process with all this. Like I don't think people are looking at it through the lens of like, why is Omer here? And I get he mentioned like the 2 year thing, and I'm not trying to take away from the 2 year thing. And maybe that is his plan. And maybe that was the plan that him and Paint and Braden and everybody agreed upon. All I'm going to say is plans change. I don't think this kid wants to come off the bench for sure. I think he came here to play a big role on a national championship team with Braden Smith. And if you listen to the way he speaks, like that is the sentiment. And if you listen to Braden speak, it sounds like he came here to play with Braden and play a major role. And I'm not saying Omer's for sure going to go to the NBA after a year, but I think he wants the opportunity to showcase what he can do just in case that is a possibility. And I wouldn't be like closed off to like Omer's just going to be okay with whatever. Like I don't
Yeah.
think Omer's just going to be okay watching Jakari Harris start 30 games.
I think they could navigate it if it was truly what was best for the team. He has talked like, 2 year plan is his goal. And a lot of times I joke when people have 2 year plans, 2 year plans fall apart and become 1 year plans and then out all the time. However, it seems like Omer, in signing up to come here, is bought into the idea of I get the point guard one role next year.
Yes.
So whatever, as long as we're leading up to that vision, I think they could navigate it. But you're right. Inherently, let's just be real about this. Any 18-year-old kid wants to start, especially if you are as good as Omer Meyer. And that's what's lost in this. Omer Meyer is not some 3-star from bum Fville, Indiana, that Matt Painter found in the corner of a JV game that like he beat out Evansville for. Like Omer Meyer is one of the most well-renowned 18-year-old prospects in the world. That's not hyperbole. It's reality. He stole the show at the World Cup this summer. He is incredible. And if Jakari Harris is better than him, then I will sit back and just marvel at what this Purdue team is. But it's got to matter. It's got to matter that that kid is here and he wants to be. And more importantly than what Omer wants to me, Purdue should want the best for Omer. You know?
To me, what you just said is the key. If Jakari Harris is better than Omer, if I feel like we're just it's been too much of like, well, Jakari Harris was here. Here's what Paint does. He starts his guys. That I don't think that's going to apply to Omer because of what else you just said. One of the most world-renowned 18-year-old basketball players, period.
Yeah.
Right? Like what people do change based upon the talent that's here. And I get it. Like there's a history of like, if you're with me, I start you, and that would be Jakari Harris, CJ Cox, obviously. Omer changes everything. That's why Braden Smith was recruiting an 18-year-old kid to come play with him for his final year of college basketball when he had multi-million dollar offers on the table. You know, he had the NBA as a possibility too, right? Like Braden had options, Fletch had options, TKR had options, and they all said, we want this 18-year-old kid for a reason. Omer had options. He said, I wanted Purdue for a reason. If Jakari Harris is better than Omer Meyer, I take back everything I said. I think that's a pretty big if from the talent we've seen out of Omer. But if he isn't better, Omer came here for a reason. These three wanted Omer to come here for a reason. He's gonna play. He's gonna
Yeah.
start.
Yep. We'll see where this goes. Yeah, even as we just talked through this, I I don't think you have many other Omer Myers. Like if you're going to be like, where else do we have another Omer? It would be Braden, the best player in the country, right? Those are the two getting compared together. Respectfully, there are other Jakari Harrises in the world, and there are other Jakari Harrises on this roster. Like Antoine West is the exact same mold as Jakari. I think CJ gives you a lot of the things that Jakari gives you. So unless Jakari truly has just like gone from a caterpillar to a butterfly in I don't know, 6 months since we've last seen him, which is possible. I'm not going to say it's not, but I'd be very surprised if this actually comes to fruition. Last thing, I'm going to make a metaphor here that I think goes against everything you and I were just saying. Maybe this is the metaphor that ends up solidifying BN's point and Jakari Harris starts and this comes to fruition. But this just popped in my head as we talked about this. What's your favorite fast food place?
McDonald's.
Go to McDonald's order. Can I hear from you?
Um, Respectfully, everybody, please respect this in the comments. Big Mac, two hamburgers, no onions, fries. Let me get four hot mustards on the side. McFlurry for later. Large Dr. Pepper.
Okay. So, like, on a McDonald's trip, it would be safe to say anyone who goes to McDonald's, like, you're going into it like my perfect meal in order to have a good McDonald's order. You need a burger, you need fries, you need a soda, you need maybe a McFlurry, maybe even if you want to throw a nugget in there, like that's a good balance. You want your McDonald's order to fit, right? Now, what's the best part of the McDonald's order?
Fries.
Fries. Fries are Braden Smith. Maybe the burgers TKR, right? Those things are very, very good. If you went to McDonald's and just ordered 5 burgers,
Mm.
is that better than going to McDonald's, even if the burger is better than the nuggets or the burger? Like, right? It's got to fit. This is maybe a stupid metaphor, but I think that's the one angle where I can at least listen to this is like, okay, Omer's way better than Jakari. Okay, cool. But is it what this team needs? Is it how you build the best meal? And to me, that would be paint getting cute, but paint getting cute works sometimes, and that might be what's going on here if they're getting intel that Jakari's going to start.
Can I mess with your metaphor just a little bit?
Do it. Tweak it for me.
Omer's the McFlurry. Jakari is the soda. The McFlurry is better than the soda, but the ice cream machine doesn't always work.
Ah,
Sometimes you got to just go with what's there.
okay. I think I like that. I think I like that. All right. Well, now I'm hungry. Purdue, we're going to have a lot of coverage of this team. And shout out to BN. Go support Brian Newber. Go support On3 and all the great things those guys are doing.